Hey, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jason Flame, host of the Master Motivation Podcast. And guys, we have an amazing guest today. I'm super excited to introduce him to you and allow him to share his story with you. This is Gordon Melville. He is the founder, CEO, and chief catalyst strategist guide of Jewil International, the king of EQ, the executive producer, digital radio host, podcaster, and TV personality of The Long Bearded Guy, a high-performance mindset mentor, award-winning and best-selling author, and an internationally renowned keynote speaker who teaches men to navigate mental awareness and health in a world of judgment and toxic masculinity. He has worked with the likes of Grant Cardone, Tony Robbins, and Zig Ziglar, developing his own coaching specialization. When not writing, podcasting, or coaching, he can be found focusing on his spiritual health alongside his wife of 31 plus years and 3 teenage sons. Gordon, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jason. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, as we were talking a little bit earlier, before we got started here today, it's been a number of months where we had a coffee chat, and we first got introduced to each other through the Connected Leaders Academy under the leadership of the great Jose Escobar, and so we had a great conversation. I just really enjoyed talking with you, and it prompted me to ask you to be a guest on this show, even though it was booked out several months in advance. But here we are; it snuck up on us, and it's a great Monday morning on this May 22nd, 2023. So let's get rolling. Let's get rolling.
Absolutely.
So why don't you kind of just start with, I always like to start with people's childhood. You know, it's just kind of interesting to see where people have come from. And then in the end, we'll talk about how far you've come. So tell us a little bit about your childhood, parents, brothers, sisters, growing up life.
Yeah, I can do that. I was born at a really young age, and it was very traumatic. I didn't talk for like a year and a half. I was born, I've got 3 younger sisters, and we were raised really strict Baptist, like really strict Baptist. And I'm thankful for that in a lot of ways. It kept me on the straight and narrow for a long time. I didn't steer too far away. It was a good foundation as far as childhood goes. We had a great home life. There were lots of bits and pieces. I mean, we all have challenges, right? But as we got older, I learned something that I had to learn very quickly. Mom and Dad were very, how do I say that? They held on to us really tight. So they made our decisions for us. So we didn't, those muscles in terms of how to make a decision and how to make choices correctly wasn't something I learned while I was at home. So once I got out on my own, 18 years old, into the real world, I went through a lot of jobs quickly because I wasn't used to having to make choices by myself. And so, I found it very interesting that, hey, Jose, that I had to learn very quickly, because the world really doesn't care whether you've learned it at home or not learned it at home. They're gonna run through it. And so I had to learn very quickly how the world worked and how to make decisions and choices and all those types of things. And so, like I said, I went through a bunch of stuff really quick, but then ended up in a kitchen and got my chef's papers. So that was kind of my initial piece as a young adult. And I didn't end up there. I went into automotive sales because I was working so many hours in the kitchen for almost no pay, and I'm like, this is stupid. There's got to be a better way. And I opened a newspaper and it said free car, and I'm like, hey, I'm all over that. What I got to do. And so I went into the retail automotive sector, which is how I ran into Grant. But growing up, there not lots to tell, just basic what everybody's, we were mid-class type lifestyle, but again, really heavy on the church religious side, right?
Right.
I'm not religious so much anymore. I don't like religion because I think it's man's finite brain trying to understand an infinite, and we just mess it up. So I'm spiritual, very spiritual, but I'm not at all religious anymore.
Now tell me, where did you grow up?
We grew up in multitude of different places, but born in Toronto. I'm in Canada. But we were in 2 or 3 different places, London and Dorchester and Tavistock and a bunch of different places. So I was in 3 different high schools in 5 years and about 4 public schools, elementary schools. So we moved around a lot, which built up my ability to be able to make friends really quick, because you had to, and to pivot and be flexible with the way, we didn't have. I've got lifetime friends now that I've had for 3 decades, but we didn't have that growing up. We just kept moving. So most of it was in this area.
Well, you said that affected you in the way that it was easier to make friends very quickly because you knew that, if you were going to be moving from place to place, you wanted to kind of, gravitate towards someone right away. So you had a friend quickly, right? Now, you had mentioned that your parents kept you very close and they made your decisions for you and didn't really give you that opportunity to make your own decisions and your own choices. How did that affect you as a child? Did you realize that was going on, or did you just realize that much later?
I realized it later. I mean, it looked normal to me. Right. It looked, it looked normal to me. Thanks, Dennis. Absolutely. You and I get along wonderfully, brother. But you know what, in terms of where my life went, when I went into sales, you had to talk to complete strangers. Well, you had to get, set very quickly, understand who the person was and read people and make friends. So those things in childhood, although it sounds restrictive and at the time it was, would I want to do that way again? No. Am I that way as a parent with my kids? No. We let them make their choice, which is brutally hard. As a parent, I know, to let them, because they're making choices that are going to hurt them. And to let them make it and fall on their face and just sort of stand there and go, okay, I'll be here to pick you up and dust you off and encourage you and pat you on the butt and get you going again. But I have to let you make the choice. It's the only way you're going to learn some of that. So, but growing up, no, we had no concept that was, it was just normal life for us. Right. I was probably one of the only 17-year-olds that that would go, hey, I'm going out with my buddies. And mom and dad would go, no, you're not. Oh, okay. There was no fight about it or whatever. It was just, okay, whatever.
Well, and that's just the way that it was, right?
It's just the way it was.
And I like what you said. Sometimes our best learning comes from failing, right? And so you've allowed your children to make decisions, and I know that I've had some times where I've had to sit back and allow my children to make decisions that I didn't necessarily think was going to turn out for the best, but they had to kind of learn it and feel it, right, and deal with it, right, and then move on from there. And so I totally get that. Now I want to talk a little bit more about this because I didn't know this about you, the cooking and the chef part, because I just watched on, I think it was Netflix or Amazon, a show called, or a movie called Burnt with Bradley Cooper. Okay. And I had read a book about Anthony Bourdain, and I'm watching this movie and I'm going, this has got to be his life because this is everything I read about in the book. But it wasn't. I read later that it was just kind of a combination of different chefs. But now, when did you show some interest in getting involved in cooking, and what was that process?
I didn't. It didn't. That happened by accident. I took massage therapy. I got 2 credits short of getting my massage therapy papers, and I ran out of money. So I went into a kitchen to earn some money to go back to massage therapy and showed an aptitude for cooking. And they went, hey, do you want to do an apprenticeship as a chef? And I'm like, you know what? I'm already here. Let's just do that. So I got my chef's papers instead of my massage therapy. But my wife thinks it's wonderful that I can cook her a meal and then give her a massage. But I bought a few years ago, I bought a portable table. So I've got the ability to do it here. Some of my friends will call me and go, hey, I need to book an appointment to come and see you. So I still can do that. See you, Dennis. We'll catch up.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. That's a great marriage skill to be able to cook and the massage, and you got the whole date night planned out and done.
Absolutely. My wife laments that I don't cook anywhere near as much as that she would like me to, but once in a while.
Now, how long did you cook for?
It was about 4.5, 5 years, give or take, about 5 years.
Okay. And any major experiences, any just outstanding opportunities that popped up?
Yes and no. I ran a kitchen that was an Italian restaurant, and the head chef I'd been training under, he moved on, but they literally passed me the key and went, here, go ahead, run the kitchen. And I'm like, oh crap, okay. So I was running the back house at the same. I was doing scheduling and whatnot, still trying to do the schooling portion of that. Anyway, it was a long. I mean, I've got pay stubs that have 115, 120 hours per week.
Wow.
For $500 gross pay every 2 weeks, which is why eventually I was like, wait, this is stupid. I need to do something else,
Time to move on.
Absolutely.
But it sounds like you fell into that by chance or by mistake or just by luck, and then of course like this other opportunity running a kitchen, you go from being a cook to running, also kind of fell into your lap. Is this a theme in your life that you've fallen into things?
Not so much fallen into, and I would say that was Papa looking after me, and I call God Papa because of my relationship with him. But I think he was directing even without me realizing that's what was happening, because I wasn't so focused on him at the time, but he was still focused on me. So some of the things as they show up, he was looking out for me even when I wasn't really paying attention. So while it looks like it was just falling into, I wouldn't have got that opportunity and got my chef's papers in terms of, and gotten to a place where I was just frustrated with life and frustrated with my job and frustrated with my income. I wouldn't have looked to do anything else, or probably wouldn't have. But that was a catalyst that pushed me into, hey, I need to try something different. And so I open a newspaper, I find this ad for a dealership. Well, that choice to go and do automotive sales revolutionized it, completely shifted because that's what connected me to Grant eventually. That's what connected me to Zig Ziglar and all this personal development I've been doing for more than 30 years. That's where all of that was born out of. And so, while it looks random, I think Papa put me literally where I needed to be at the time I needed to be there to get the situation to be what I needed it to be for what he had for me, for my mission, for my life. I needed all of that, that experience, to get to a place where I could be a mentor the way I needed to be, the way I wanted to be, right? To have the impact I want to have.
Definitely. And now you talked about growing up very strong Baptist family. And then there was a time in your life where you weren't focused on God. And then you just mentioned, you weren't looking for him at that time, but then you found him. Talk about that and how that transformation took place.
It's interesting that you asked that, because it's I think he's looking after us. Papa's looking after us even when he's chasing and wants the relationship. It's not about whether we're following the rules. It's not about it's about a relationship, a person. He wants a person. He already knows more about us than we know about ourselves, because I don't know how many hairs are on my head and he does, or in my beard, I guess. But, but he wants that relationship. And no matter how far we run, and I remember saying this in a testimony at church one time when I was just coming back into that space in a more intentional way. And I said, you know what? I ran and ran and ran and ran. And I thought I was by myself, and I thought I'd run away from him. And when I stopped and turned around, he was right there. And so even though I thought I wasn't anywhere where he was always right there. And I think what I've learned is that there's no life without him. You can't be alive and have without Papa. He is life. Well, that means he's in everything that's living. So whether they acknowledge that and live out of that, plug into that or not, is a different issue. But the fact that if you're alive, he's already in you. He's already there, which is where when they say, well, we got to look inside, the answers are already inside of us. They are, because he's inside of us. So we have that level of power. We have Papa level love. We have Papa level patience. We have Papa level trust. We all the fruit of the Spirit we have at Papa level, if we can plug into them and let him flow through us. And that's what's really, that concept has revolutionized my life. Once I realized Papa was already in anybody that's alive, it made it that means, and he loves everybody. He loves the people that we think are the most horrible people on the planet, he loves just as much as he loves you and I. And I don't understand that, but I don't need to understand that. But that means when I, as a human, I go, well, I can't love them. My standards are above Papa's. I can't love them because, wait a second. Papa loves them just the way they are. And it doesn't mean that he agrees with their activity. It doesn't mean he agrees with all the things they do and say and how they act, but he loves them regardless. So for me, the presentation doesn't matter anymore. I don't care how somebody presents to me, right?
Mhm.
Whether gender doesn't matter, ethnicity doesn't matter, gender identification doesn't, like nothing matters. It doesn't matter. I don't care. Homeless, not homeless. I don't care. Everybody, Papa loves the same way. So I'm at a point where I'm like, you know what? I'm going to lead with love, not with judgment. And stigma is a word that I think you and I talked about that before. Stigma is a word I hate because it's a sanitized, civilized word. Right? We all go, oh, the word judgment. And anyway, it's what we're saying. I'm better than that person because I don't have to deal with those problems, mental awareness stuff, right? But the challenge is it's not about. It doesn't matter if they have those challenges. I have my own stuff. If I don't have mental challenge.
Hey, Gordon, I'm sorry to interrupt you. I'm sure you're still talking, but I can't hear you, and it's been cutting in and
Stuff to
out
do.
a
It's where
little
they
bit.
are. There you're back again.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. It just kept freezing
Okay.
for a second, so I didn't know if my
Yeah.
face was totally blank to what you were saying, but I was trying to stay tuned in, and I apologize to everybody watching if you missed out on the last couple seconds or the last couple minutes. But let's see if we can continue moving forward. Gordon, can you hear me now? Okay. Uh-oh.
It's fighting us a little bit.
It is. It is. I hear you again. How about now?
Yeah. No, we're good. We're good.
Okay. All right. Let's try to get back into that. I completely apologize to you and everybody watching, but I wanted to make sure we get this. So try to pick up where you were leaving off, and let's go from there. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good. It was just that, I think it doesn't matter how people present to us, how they present themselves to us. Papa loves them the way they are. So who am I to go, hey, I have my standards are higher than his. They just aren't. And so being able to lead with love instead of with judgment, right? It's not stop the stigma, it's stop the judgment. It's stop being judgmental. Stop saying I'm better than them because I don't have to deal with that. Right. We're all in that spectrum. We're all in the mental awareness spectrum. It doesn't have to be full blown suicide or depression or schizophrenia or PTSD or whatever. Maybe it's a little bit of stress and anxiety because of work or the kids or finances or whatever on the other end of the spectrum. But if I don't deal with those things in a positive way, I am going to end up in a deep depression. I am going to end, which is what's been happening. People aren't dealing with it. And as guys, we were taught, don't look weak, don't show your emotion, don't cry. And so we push it down and we hold it inside of ourselves, and it makes us sick because we're holding that dis-ease in our bodies. And or we put it on a shelf, right? We put our emotions in a box, we put it on a shelf because we don't want to deal with it. The problem is we still have pain from that. And so we're trying to dull the pain. So how do we do that? Drugs, alcohol, porn, gambling, whatever. But now I have an addiction. I have a vice on top of the problem because it didn't take the problem away. So when I'm teaching guys, I'm teaching them tools and strategies to be able to deal with regular emotion they'll feel every day, but don't know what to do with. And so that it just goes away. It's not outside the box thinking. It's just burn the box, eradicate the box. There's no box. Just learn some ways to deal with stuff in a straightforward manner so that it can go away.
Now you've been coaching for over 30 years. How did this kind of take place? How did you dive into, dealing with all of these situations and talking with people about this?
Well, coaching, I mean, obviously with running dealerships and in that space, I was doing a lot of coaching, but officially since probably 2017-ish, give or take, where that's all I was doing was coaching. Right. But that the two timelines that run for me simultaneously, one is Energizer Bunny for 30 years with no self-care, teaching self-care, but not doing any self-care, which I think is a common theme for a lot of us, especially guys. We were taught it was selfish to look after yourself first. So everybody came before me, and we would push and push and push and push and push. And I wouldn't look after myself. Well, eventually my body went, hey, I'm out. I don't want to do this anymore. So in late 2015, I was bedridden for 2 years because my body was like, I can't do it. And our ensuite was 20 feet from the bed, and I would fall down 2 or 3 times trying to get to the bathroom. I just had nothing left. And so that led to, when you take an Energizer Bunny and squish them into a space where they can't move, it gets dark in a hurry. So there was a suicide attempt in the middle of that. And I think that's a common theme, not the suicide necessarily, but to a space where you get to where it gets so dark, there doesn't seem to be any other way out. And so, I felt like a millstone for my wife and my kids, and I wasn't helpful, and I wasn't able to be myself the way I thought I needed to be. And so Papa gifted me, and I say that intentionally that way. He gifted me that experience because it was something I needed to expand my horizon and expand my experience so that I understood depression and suicide and mental awareness in a way that I had never understood it before. But he knew I needed that to be able to achieve my mission. So, to be able to have the impact, I needed to have that. So that's the one timeline is the health side. The other timeline that was running simultaneously was connecting with Grant. So starting in the car business, I got to see Grant live. He took me from being a 12 car a month guy to a 40 plus car a month guy. And his people reached out and said, hey, can you come and help teach his stuff, his theologies and whatnot? And I'm like, no, because you had to be on the road a bunch, and I didn't want to be on the road. I was married. I didn't want to do that. And eventually my relationship with my wife deteriorated, and going on the road saved our marriage. We married to the same lady for 31 years. But at the time, being able to work with Grant, I did 3.5 years one-on-one with Grant, teaching his stuff and doing in-house training and all that kind of stuff. So he had a massive impact on me. And then the gentleman that was looking after Grant at the time, his other claim to fame is that he put Zig Ziglar on his first stage. So we had unbridled access to Zig. So he would sit and have breakfast and lunch and dinner. Like he would sit and talk and train and teach. And Gabby, another Canadian, a fellow Canadian.
Hi, Gabby.
Yeah. But he would teach, but Zig connected us to everybody else. Zig was the one that said to me, Gord, to be successful, you need to do 3 things. I said, what are they? He said, you need to go to at least 2 business conferences every year. You need to read 4 to 6 books a month, and you need to journal every day. Well, I've been doing those 3 things. I read 5 to 7 books a month. I have been for more than 30 years. I journal in 5 different journals every day for more than 30 years. And I go to 4 business conferences a year. But what that did was I'm certified. And what that did was give me that space, right? Give me that knowledge and that expertise, and give me a thirst for that kind of stuff. I've always been a big reader, but I'm now certified in a half a dozen disciplines with Tony Robbins and Robbins and Adonis as a high performance coach. I'm certified NLP. I'm certified to teach Napoleon Hill. But all of those things happened to set me in a space. And then the suicide attempt happened, which was sort of the catalyst that sort of opened everything up. And when you put those 2 sides together, somebody reached out to me on a Facebook wall that wasn't my wall, and I didn't know the person, and asked some questions. And so we had a 10-15 minute conversation in text. And the next day he disappeared. The next day he shows up. I get a friend request from him. And I'm like, okay, again, we go back to the piece about, well, is it random? Was it luck? No, Papa connected me to that young man. I found out later he became my first client, but he was a pro athlete. He was a soccer player in the UK. But I didn't have a website. I didn't have any advertising. Like there was nothing there. And all of a sudden I end up with a pro athlete, which turned into a bunch of pro athletes by word of mouth in multiple different denominations, right? Some of them were in soccer, some of them were in rugby, NBA, NFL, and Major League Baseball. But that all happened because of the position I was in, that Papa had put me in. And so, life the challenges we have, we all have life happen to us. We all do. So 10%, we've all heard that. 10% what happens to us, 90% how we respond to what happened. And so, if we're going through this stuff anyway, we're going through those challenges anyway, it's a waste if we don't learn something from those challenges that can help move us forward. Right. And so, I take the experience that I had, all that stuff over 30 years, and blend it in and go, okay, you know what? Now it's time to let that stuff out, or continue to let it out, but more in an intentional way. Right. And so, being able to do Jewil International is the name of the company, my company, founder and CEO of that. But it's a coaching, speaking company that, and Jewil is an acronym, JEWIL. Jandon is the company with my wife. But Jandon, so empowerment with intention, life coaching. And so that's sort of the base of it all underneath everything. That's where it's all coming out of at the moment, is coming. We polish the diamond within, because the jewel's already there. We just have to polish it, find it and polish it.
Now, tell me, in your years of experience of working with clients and working with the men that you've worked with, what are some of the most common things that you see that, you talk about men, don't express their feelings, don't show the weakness, don't, bother other people with their problems. What are some of the most common things that you see and hear?
Great question. A lot of times, it's not so much. I find guys, and I've talked to some guys that tell me, Gord, I'm alpha, like alpha. I know an MMA guy that said, Gord, you'd have to be in my inner circle, and even then I probably wouldn't open up to you. And I'm like, okay. But I said to him, you know what? My experience with alphas is just, that's armor they wear so that people don't realize what a marshmallow they are. And he kind of laughed and he goes, you know what? That's why I close the drapes when my grandbabies come over, because my marshmallow spills out all over on the floor. The thing is, being okay to open up, being okay to do that, and having tools. I think a lot of it's coming from mindset's a huge deal for me, but mindset's still coming from a place. And I think where that comes from is what we believe our worth and value is. What do we think our worth is? Because society tells us our worth is one thing. Me Too movement tells us our worth is something different. And all these different things are telling us, hey, to be a man, you got to be macho, or to be a man, you got to, no, you got to be able to cry. Okay. And I'm not saying all those things, we don't have to do those things. I'm saying, if I don't understand what my real worth is, intrinsically, what my worth, without anything else, without what I do, without who I know, without anything else, Papa says we have infinite value for no other reason than we are. For no other reason than we are. Not because of what we do, not because of the size of our bank account, not because of what we drive or where we live or who our kids are, or none of that matters. We have infinite value for no other reason than we are. And I think a lot of times people don't hold on to that. Guys especially. We don't. Why is it that New Year's resolutions only last 5 or 6 weeks? How come? Because something deep inside of us, in our subconscious paradigm, says, who the hell do you think you are? Why are you so special? And we go, you know what? You're right. And we stop showing, because our worth it's not anchored where it belongs. We don't. And then out of that lack of feeling of worth or worthlessness, or not understanding our worth, right? Out of that grows thinking and mindset that says, no, wait. I'm not enough. I need to be more. I need to be something that I have to live up to an expectation of somebody else. No, we don't. And so it's trying to get guys to understand. And the biggest theme over and over is to have them understand you are perfect just the way you are. Do we have challenges? Yes. Do we need to improve? Yes. But on the whole, base foundationally, we're enough. We don't need anything else. And matter of fact, and I point that out to people all the time, our journey is for ourselves. Your journey is for Jason Flame. My journey is for Gordon D. Melville. I don't need approval from anybody. You don't need approval from anybody. We don't need anything from anybody. Nobody even has to understand what our journey is. We can do however we so worry about the opinions of other people. What are they going to think if I fail? And what if I look stupid? It doesn't matter. I think that's the one thing that just, if we can learn to be 100% authentically ourselves and let the chips fall where they may, all of us would be in a way better position. And I think that's where the hiccup comes. We can stand on our own, but as soon as somebody says something that contradicts that, especially if it's somebody that we respect, yes, we are enough. Absolutely, we are. On our own, without anything from anybody else, without it's not what we do, it's who we're being. And then the doing is an extension of who we're being. And a lot of times we get stuck doing, especially guys. Who are you? Oh, I'm a pro trainer, or I'm an athlete, or I'm an insurance guy, or no, you're not. That's what you do. That's not who you are. And we conflate the two, and then we wonder why we have struggle. Our identity is not, and our worth, it does not come out of what we provide to the world. And that's a hard thing. We struggle with that because we've been told, no, I need to be able to show up a certain way and have approval from the world in a certain way to be accepted for who I am. Well, no. And so that's an overwhelming thing that comes all the time. It shows up because gals too, but we carry this baggage that we should just let go. It's not, we're trying to live up to something that somebody else has put on us, or society has put on us, or our parents, or somebody else. And we wonder why we're exhausted and frustrated all the time, because we're trying to live somebody else's life. We're not trying to be who we are. Be who you are, and then be okay with however the chips fall, be okay with that. And I think that's where sometimes the glitch comes, because we're not okay with it. When someone says, I don't like it, or I don't agree with what you're doing, we have to be strong enough to stand, no, I'm going to be who I am. And if you like it, great. If you don't like it, great. That's still okay. Right? When I shaved my head, I have a relative that held my face in her hands and went, I hate your hair. And I'm like, great, I didn't do it for you. I did it for me. Thank goodness I didn't do it for you. Right? I've conformed for 50 years on what you all wanted, what you all thought I should look like, and what I should do, and who I should be. I'm done. I'm not going to do it anymore. I'm going to be me. And if you like that, great. If you don't like that, I don't give a shit. I really don't. I'm going to be authentically me. And what I'm finding is, the more I'm like that, and the more I show up like that, authentically me, my tribe shows up and gravitates towards me, because my vibration runs at a certain level. And then I attract amazing humans like yourself that go, hey, you know what? We need to have a conversation, because if I was doing the conforming thing, you may not have reached out the same way, because we probably wouldn't have connected the same way.
Right. Well, as I'm listening to you, I'm just, I'm soaking it all in. And at the same time, I'm thinking about social media. I'm thinking about, things that you said, the way my parents wanted me to live, or the way that my parents hoped that I would live, or, society. Again, social media is a big one. Social media is so hard because it's so easy to compare yourself. Right. How many likes did I get? How many people are watching my videos? Right. Who's commenting? All of these things. And then as a father and a husband, I think, am I doing all the best things for my kids? Am I doing the best job as a husband, as a martial arts instructor? Am I leading the best example? I mean, these are all things that, it's funny. You brought up someone that you talked about MMA. I might have an idea of who this is. But I feel all of those same things. And it's at some point, like, yeah, you got to kind of let go. And I think sometimes where I feel the least, my wife and I just went on a vacation this weekend, and I had the greatest time. I mean, awesome. We had no work, right? No, our kids are adults now. And we had time. It was just the two of us. And I just know that the past 2-3 days, like you said, I was authentically myself. With my wife, I can be exactly who I am. She loves me for who I am. I am enough. And the weight that I feel, like I come back, it's Monday. Yep. And I'm automatically like, okay, I got how many podcasts this week? How many things do we have at the karate school this week? How many events do I need to be at? And it's like all of that stuff starts, piling back up.
Yep.
And I continue to ask myself, am I doing enough? Right. I just constantly ask myself that question. So I guess I'm venting to you and opening up a little bit to you, because I hear what you're saying, but I'm feeling all these other thoughts.
Right. Well, so you can ask the same question. Am I doing, change the word do to being. Am I being enough? Because that's a way deeper conversation, right? Who you're being, how are you showing? Because if you're being the right person, all the doing stuff will work out.
Right.
All the doing stuff is just an extension of who you're being. So if you show up authentically 100% as you're being you, you're becoming a better version of you every day. There's no way for you to let anybody down. There's no way for you not to be. And if somebody goes, hey, I don't like it, not part of your tribe. And that's okay. Right. For us to be able to stand in it and know, social media is a weird thing. It really is. When I was growing up, exactly. When I was social media, when I was growing up, my sisters, I had 3 younger sisters, and they all had a diary with a little lock on it, right? And if I would break the lock and open it up and read it, they were always pissed off with me. Well, you read mine. You're not supposed to read mine. And now we've got social media where we get pissed off if nobody reads our stuff.
It's true.
Right?
It's true.
We put it out there and we base our life on whether we got likes or what? It's not. It's social media is a great tool and it can be very powerful in lots of ways, but it brings us together globally and separates us locally. Right? We can talk to people in Australia and the East. We can talk to people in an instant all over the world. But people locally here, I don't know my neighbors. Now, I've only been here for 3 weeks, so I'm just getting to know them. But the point is, lots of times we don't run into people as the same way, in the same way, locally. We don't build relationships around us the same way as we build them online. And even to another step, I know somebody that talked about when the whole masks and COVID stuff was happening, and he would say to people, he would ask people live, are you wearing a mask because your job makes you do that, or because you're choosing to do that? And I said to him, what does it matter to you? And he goes, well, it tells me what kind of a sheep they are. And I'm like, we've got this society that if I do in real life what I do on social media, when you follow people, unless you're a billionaire, it's called stalking and it's illegal. Right? You walk up to people and go, I like your hair, I like your skirt. What the hell? What does it matter to whether you put on a mask or you put on a hat or you wear weird shoes? I wear shorts and sandals right through the winter. -40, I'm still in shorts and sandals. But that's a choice I make. I don't do it and reach out to somebody and go, hey, do you think this is a good idea? I know there's ice and 40 feet of snow, but should I have shorts on and sandals, or I'm living me. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing. And we get so tied into, again, the worth and value thing, right? If I know my worth and I'm showing up 100% authentically as myself, then the people that gravitate to me are part of my group. The people that don't, it's okay. The first time my radio show, my TV show podcast, the first time I had somebody come in with a negative comment, the lady that owned the network, she reached out to me. She goes, hey, you have a negative comment. I went, yes. And she's like, what? Oh, I have haters. Officially, I have haters. I've arrived. And she said, do you want me to delete it or do you want to respond to them? I'm like, no, I want to respond to them. And she goes, what are you going to say? I'm going to say, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate that. Make it another great day. I don't care. It doesn't make any impact on me whatsoever, but I want them to know, hey, I appreciate you reaching out. But to be okay with that. And I think that's, like I said, I think that's the linchpin. Be yourself, but then be okay with that. Am I being enough? Am I being who I'm supposed to be? Because if I am, nothing else really matters. If you're being who you're supposed to be for your wife, and who you're supposed to be for your kids, and who you're supposed to be for your students and for your business and for all the people around you, you are being enough. You are doing enough because you're being who you're supposed to be. And anybody that wants more than that, probably shouldn't be there.
Right. Well, that's a powerful shift for sure, and that's gonna stick with me. Thinking about being more than doing. And so I appreciate that, Gordon. Thank you so much. And thank you for sharing this, this wisdom with us, because sometimes, we as, and I'm sure you feel this too. Sometimes you have people that you're coaching and you're reminding them of things. Cause I know that I talk with my students about, not comparing themselves to others and
Right.
being confident in who they are.
Right.
And so we're preaching this, and sometimes we have a hard time turning around and reflecting on ourselves.
Right. Absolutely right. Well, and you know what? It's interesting you say that way, because that's exactly, you're trying to impart that to the kids.
Mm-hmm.
If you're being who you're supposed to be, you are already enough. Right? If you're being who you're meant to be, and people, well, who was I meant to be? You're meant to be you. Who are you authentically showing up as? When there's nobody around and there's nobody paying attention and there's nobody telling you what to do, thank you so much, Gabby. Love you. If you're being who you're supposed to be, then you are enough, and to be okay with that. And I think that's to be okay being who we are and in our own skin, and then letting the chips fall where they may. We're all worried about, oh no, they're not gonna. There's going to be lots of people. There's 8 billion people on the planet. Trust me, your tribe will have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people in it. So it's okay. And that some of them don't. That's something Grant used to talk about when I was working with him. He said, Gord, at the time was 7 billion people on the planet. He said, I want 7 billion people to know who I am. That's the goal. I said, Grant, you're not going to have all those people like you. He said, I didn't say like me. I just said, know my name. I want 7 billion people to know who I am. Right. And I think that's interesting, because some people, as I worked with him, there was no middle ground, which is something I always loved about Grant. You saw Grant and you either went, oh, I love that guy, or what an a-hole. Right. There was no in between. Right. Because and I love that, because it put the skunk on the porch. And I think we get stuck in a world where the people that like us and the people that don't like us, there's all these people in the middle that are kind of maybes. I'm not sure if they do or don't, and I would like them to, and we get stuck in that space. I don't give a shit. You like me, don't like me, come to one of the two piles, right? Like, come to, yes, I like him, I'll listen to him, or no, I don't like him. I'm good with that. I'm a big boy. I can handle the no. I'm all over that. But the sales part of me that I learned in that sales piece, it's the maybes that kill you, because you think you have all this stuff working and you're not have any of that stuff working. Get them to like or dislike. Boom, 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 boom. Figure it out quick. Well, I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'm okay with that. Now, I think I'm probably everybody's 10th tequila, but not everybody's cup of tea. But anyway, the point is that I have to be that matter. And that's lunch. As long as they show up as who they're supposed to be. It did pause again.
It glitched a little bit.
It did. As long as they show up as who they're supposed to be. And I think that's where that clip, right, to be able to have, who am I supposed to be? Right? Because if I show up as who I'm supposed to be, and I know who I'm supposed to be, I think mutation to be able to start to be who I'm supposed to be and build from there. If I'm not sure who I'm supposed to tell me who I am. So gotta love technology.
I know. Most days it's really, really good, and then today we just get that little bit of glitch. But I know that people are following along with us. And by the way, I just want to say thank you to Gabby. Gabby's been part of this conversation the whole time. And what she said is, you have amazing podcasts and you interview amazing people. And this definitely is an example of having an amazing person talking with us today. So thank you, Gordon. Thanks for sharing everything today. And I have learned a lot. I've been reminded a lot, but I've really learned a lot. And I think, focusing on being rather than doing is going to be my really big takeaway today. As we start, kind of winding down and wrapping up a little bit, you have had these experiences with Grant Cardone, Zig Ziglar, and other, famous speakers. I mean, people that are world renowned. You said that Grant Cardone wanted 7 billion people to know his name. I think that they do, right? Minus a couple. But what do all of those people have in common that makes them so successful at what they do, and what has drawn them to you, or the other way around? What has drawn you to them?
Yep. And it's interesting. It's all the same common type of theme. The people that are the same authentically on the stage as they are when I'm talking to them one-on-one, that resonates with me. That draws me to them, because I could say some names of some famous people that are in that world that you would know that I don't connect with. They got good content, but I can't. I have to go around, and I go around their delivery. I'll go to the content. I'll read the books. I'll read all, because there's some really good information there. I spent thousands of dollars. The one in particular, I spent almost 10K getting their course, but ignoring their, because there's a disingenuine. The content is really, really good. But again, we go back to who they're being. So Grant was being himself. Les Brown's, he is himself. That's not good grammar, but he be himself, right? They were authentic when when they were authentic when you run into them and when you meet them and you talk to them. Tony is the same guy, whether I'm sitting here talking to him at dinner or whether he's on stage. Exactly the same guy. And they're comfortable in their skin. They know who they are, and they're confident that, you know what, if you don't connect with me, great, no problem. It's not going to take away from my energy or where I'm at or my value because you don't see it. And we will let other people dictate what our value is. We see our own value through their eyes. Unless someone tells us, okay, we're doing what those guys and gals, they all do a thing. Brent Brown, amazing. But they are confident in their skin, and they're going to show up as themselves. And if you resonate with that, great. But if you don't, that's also great. And to find who works for you. Weight Watchers will work for almost everybody if they follow the program. But for some reason, it doesn't resonate with people. So there's thousands of other ways to release weight. And I say release because I don't think it can't be lost if it doesn't have an owner. The only thing that something is lost is if it has an owner. So when we talk about releasing weight, it's not owned. I don't lose weight, because if I say that, it's mine. I'm going to get it back. I need to release it. The words we use are important. The words we tell ourselves, the language we use for ourselves is important. And so all of those people, they empowered me in a way that I needed over the years. I've needed, and being able to understand and learn from them that we all have something that Napoleon Hill was huge with for me, was understanding that we have the power to make our day whatever we want it to be. I stopped saying years ago, have a nice day, because it was sort of whatever's going to happen is going to happen. Make the best of whatever's going to happen. That's not true. We have been gifted the ability to make our lives whatever we want it to be. And we abdicate that power. I was on a virtual coffee with a lady not long ago, and she had a puppy, gorgeous, golden lab, beautiful. And she's patting it while we're talking. And I'm like, oh my God, it's beautiful. And she goes, I know, it's just adorable. I said, so you take that puppy to a dog park, and the puppy sees a full-grown shepherd and goes, oh, I love that. I'm going to be a shepherd. Does it have that latitude? And she started to laugh. She goes, no, it's a golden lab. It's going to be a lab. I'm like, yeah, it can't change who it is. But we've been gifted the ability to reinvent ourselves every day if we want to, every second of every day if we want to. And we abdicate it and go, no, it is what it is. I can't do anything about it. That's BS. So I say to people, make it another great day. To try and empower them. I learned that from Zig, and I learned that from all these thought leaders that were like, no, we have the power to make it what we want it to be. It doesn't matter if the rest of your day's been in the toilet. choose for the rest of it to go the way you want it to go.
Mm-hmm.
Choose it and then execute. Be who you want it to be, right? Who you want to become. Who are you looking to? Where are you looking to go with that? Because if I can make it what it's now empowering. I'm trying to let them know they have the power to do that. Well, no, I don't. No, you're enough. You can make that happen. It's a sentence that I give my sons. Another time I'll give you those 5 sentences. But the one is, I can make that happen. But they say it 3 times with a different emphasis in a different place. So that sentence comes out, I can make that happen. And they say it again, I can make that happen. I can make that happen. 3 different connotations of exactly the same sentence that have different meanings and different emphasis to understand empowerment. Understand you are enough just the way you are in every way. Papa loves you just the way you are. Be that. Be who you are. And then make your life what you want it to be. You can have whatever you want. Am I ever going to be in the NBA? No, never going to happen. But that doesn't mean I can't connect myself. I'm a pro. I'm a mascot for a semi-pro basketball team in town. I can have connection to that stuff, right? And still enjoy some of that stuff. The point is to be okay with that and put yourself in the space. I talk to lots of people that go, well, I always wanted to be a musician. Always wanted to play the guitar. Great. You ever bought a guitar? No. I will never get. Well, you can make that. That's an easy thing. Go buy a guitar. Go actually execute. Right. I refer to the audacity of doing. We have to be who we are, but the doing, the actual execution needs to flow out of who we're being. And if that's who we are, and we keep pushing it down and going, no, I'm just going to ignore the fact that I have these creative musical stuff inside me somewhere that I don't do anything with. Mm-hmm. Right. You're in the martial arts world. Yes, who is the absolute best martial artist in the world? It's somebody you don't know. It's somebody I don't know, because they didn't have the discipline to make their life what they needed to for everybody to know who they are. The best basketball player, we don't know. It's a moot point. We can talk about and discuss all the people that we know. Who's the best golfer? We probably don't know, because they didn't have the discipline to put themselves and give themselves the opportunity. I talk about an acorn. If I put that acorn on this steed, if I put that acorn on my driveway, it's going to get some light and it's going to get some rain. So it might pop open. It may even sprout a little bit. It's never going to reach its potential because of its circumstance. Mm-hmm. Right? But if I take that same acorn and put it in the ground in the proper place, it'll grow 100 feet. Why? Because the circumstances are. So we need to be able to put ourselves into the right circumstance. If I hadn't said yes to go on the road when I did, my life would have looked dramatically different. But being able to put ourselves out there and go, hey, you know what? I'm going to make that happen by going. And I didn't know the extremity of what that was actually going to transform. I had no concept of that when I said yes. But putting myself in the space, I'll never forget I was telling somebody recently, the very first meeting I ever did for Grant, I come from the Canadian market. 12, 15 salespeople is a lot of salespeople. That's a big store. And Grant's boss, or the guy that managed him at the time, set up this meeting for me. And I show up in Lansing, Michigan, and it's a Western store. So my cowboy boots and my cowboy hat fit in really well at the time. But the owner, I was talking to him, he was sitting next to me, and all these people start to pour into the room. And I leaned down to him and I went, this is supposed to be just the salespeople. And he goes, this is just the salespeople. And there were 100 people in the room. I was like, oh my God. Like it instantly put in perspective for me what the Canadian market was as a, to compare a Canadian and American markets, not even close. Like it doesn't even compare in any way, shape, or form. But I wouldn't have understood that if I hadn't said yes to work with Grant. Mm-hmm. Right. And all these things that, I've been in every major city in the US and Canada. I've seen things and experienced stuff that I would never have experienced or seen if I'd have stayed in Canada. If I'd have just not said yes to that opportunity or any opportunity and just stayed at home, I would never have experienced that. So we have to put ourselves there. We have to put ourselves in the right place And even when we don't understand, it's not about knowing how. It's about asking, believing, and receiving. Right? I don't have to know how. I just have to ask, believe, and receive. If I can do
Awesome.
that, I can make my day what I want it to be.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's an awesome perspective, just to really expand, our typical thinking of, I'm just going to get from point A to point B today. And as long as I get this done, I'm good. And I'm going to do it again tomorrow.
Right.
Definitely just an opening up of perspective. So listen, we're at that time. And
Wow.
I appreciate you being here. And I'd love to continue maybe another time. I definitely would love to have you on a roundtable discussion with some other of our Connected Leaders Academy members
Absolutely.
as well. But for now, I want to just again say thank you for all of your time. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your knowledge, and your experience. I think that those of us that have been watching today really took a lot out of it. And for those of you that are going to watch this later on the replay, please make sure to share this and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Master Motivation Podcast. And so for now, I'm going to say thank you again to Gordon Melville. Thanks for being on the show and really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. It's been an honor to be here. Great to spend time with you.
All right, guys. Well, that's it for today. We'll catch you in the next time. And like Gordon said, go out and make it a great day.
Absolutely.